This is the Iowa Podcast, a space for truth, tenderness, and becoming whole, one breath at a time. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Iowa Podcast. I am Dr. Malika, and I am super excited because we are closing out our first season of the show today with episode number 20. And we're going to talk about freedom practices and collective liberation. This is going to be a time for us to talk about us as a collective working together towards shared freedom and walking in our truth and living rooted. So you know how we do it. We're going to start off with some things for you to do. And it's really important that you like and subscribe to the podcast. This is the way for people to know what we have going on. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. And it's going to be really important because in the month of March, we're going to be doing some giveaways and some raffles. So part of the way that you will be able to win is you have to listen and you have to be able to comment, show that you're liking the channel, showing that you're liking the podcast on the different avenues. And so that's going to be important to what you're doing. So I wanted to make sure we got that out of the way and just remember what we are doing here. Just a sidebar before we really get into this work. I am super excited because I have a lot of the new merch in the store now. I have on our blacked out Live Life Rooted t-shirt. And then we also have it in different colors. So we have this one that is a monochromatic, like a burgundy color. We have it in blue, royal blue, because, you know, I am a SG Row, so definitely got to have that. But we have a bunch of different merch available for you to purchase in our Shopify store. So we definitely want you to get your Aya gear. It's a way for you not only to support the show, but it's a way for you to wear the message of what we're talking about on this podcast. All right. So I wanted to get that out there, get this stuff out of the way so we can get into the business of what we're talking about. So I want you to take a couple of deep breaths with me. I want to settle us. So if you're driving, I want you to keep your eyes on the road. If you are in a position to where you have the ability to walk or sit still, I want you to do so. Allow yourself to relax. Drop your shoulders, get rid of any of the tension. We don't want any rushing. This is our time to really sit back and be present in this moment. We are not part of the hustle today, all right? One of the things we have to understand is that freedom is not something that you just talk about. Freedom is something that you have to put into practice. And so I'm not here to sell you the idea of liberation, right? Because it sounds good or it sounds like something that you should say or do. That doesn't change anything for you. What I am here to do and to talk to you about is a kind of freedom that doesn't show up on a calendar. It doesn't show up in a book. It doesn't show up in anything that necessarily is always tangible, but it's important. It will show up in your relationships. The freedom will show up in your nervous system. It'll show up in your ability to rest or your lack of ability to rest. So I want us to really understand how liberation is even connected to our ability to ask for help when we need it, feeling comfortable enough to ask. It shows up on when we stop performing that we're strong and we're willing to be able to say we're going through something. And it will also show up in the way that we build community. And that's actually something that holds us together as people. This episode is for the person that is tired of doing the healing process alone. This is for the person that has said, I no longer want to do this just by myself. I need community and I need people connected to me in this process. The other thing is this episode is for the person that knows the language, but needs to live out the practice. You are the person who has been surviving for so long and you forgot that you were allowed to feel free. So if you're new here, welcome. This season has been a journey through roots. It's been through water. We've talked about fire. We've talked about rhythm, the circle, naming, becoming. This last episode of the season, not the last episode of the show. We will move into season 2 shortly thereafter. But this last episode is about us connecting liberation to what we talked about in episode 19, which is the power of naming ourselves. So we are taking the name and we are putting that under our feet and walking on that. We are breathing on that. We are putting community under the weight of that name, because collective liberation is not a slogan. It's a structure. It's all a set of choices that we are making as a community. And it is a way for us to live with purpose, on purpose. We're healing loudly and living softly. So let's talk about it. Let's take a break and we will come back and we will dig deeper into this episode. We will be back in just a second. So welcome back to the pod, and I'm super excited for us to dig a little bit deeper into this topic. I want us to get a better understanding of what I mean when I say collective liberation. What I'm talking about is that my personal wellness cannot fully be realized if my people are still drowning. If any of you have followed me long enough, if any of you have followed me on socials, particularly on my TikTok channel, I really dig deep into the community healing calling that I feel like I have on my life. I do feel like I'm a community healer, that my job is not just to, as a psychologist, help people through with a traditional therapeutic model, but I feel like I'm called to help our community heal at large, which is why I'm an anti-racist, which is why I work in social justice, which is why I'm an educator. Like, all of these things that I do is about healing. So even if I'm okay in this moment, I can't be okay when other people in my community are drowning. And I mean, you cannot save everyone, but you definitely can't save anyone if you're destroying yourself. So the collective part of liberation is really important. The one caveat that I want to give to this, and I want to stress to make sure you get this, is that you cannot be a martyr. That is not what collective liberation is. There will be times where you come across people that you cannot save, and you have to be okay with that. That is not activism. That is not therapy language telling you, that's not spiritual language. That is not something that you are supposed to internalize as a skill, that I have to sacrifice myself to make sure that every person is okay. It doesn't work that way. What we are talking about, and this is really important, is a practice of building life-giving systems in our life that also allows us to reach out to others as a lifeline when necessary. It's going to give us the ability to stop letting the world convince us that isolation is normal, that individualism is normal. It's very counterintuitive to us as Black people to fight this individualistic fight that we constantly fight here in the United States. Because unfortunately, what is happening is we were grown from the soil here in an individualist society, but our roots and our heart come from a place that's collective, that is about the whole being okay. So isolation is counterintuitive to who we are as people. We have to stop pretending that hyper independence is a strength. It is not. It means that we stop making our pain private when the harm has been public. We will go into our closed spaces and we will grieve and we will deal with the harm and the care of recovery, although what was done to us was done very publicly. That's the reason why I say we healed loudly. We are healing out loud. A lot of these things were done to us out loud in the public for people to see. So as we are dealing with our pain, we don't have to deal with that in private. We have the ability to connect to others in our community in order for us to heal together. So that collective liberation asks different questions. We often will ask each other, how do I cope, or how are you coping in this situation? But we need to change our language. How do we change what keeps harming us? Not just how do I calm down, right? But why are we constantly being pushed into survival mode? Not just how do I heal, right? I want to know, who am I healing with? If you've ever been in a place where you felt guilty for needing support, you're not alone. Many of us struggle with asking for help. I had a situation with someone where they were offered help that they did not ask for, and they struggled with getting assistance in that case because they felt a certain kind of way about asking for help. And the one thing I said to them was, did you ask? And she said no. And I said, but it was offered. And she said yes. I said, so that person is offering because, number one, they have the ability to bless you, and they will be blessed by blessing you and be able to receive blessings from others. You will have a point where you will be able to pay it forward to someone else. We were trained to believe that needing is a weakness, that being dependent on others is a weakness, that asking is a burden, and that resting is laziness. We were taught that being soft is unsafe. These are not personal flaws. These are lessons that we inherited from a system that very much runs off of that hustle culture, that individualist mindset, and it's inherited from living under pressure and in a mode of survival. So today, I'm giving you some freedom practices. I don't want to give you theories because I clearly will give you that. I always try to give you the evidence-based or the scientific foundation to what we talk about, but I want to give you practices. These are probably not going to be something that you can just do this week. It might not just be today or tonight. It could be that you need to address things in relationship. It could be you need to address things in your community. It could be personal within your own body. But whatever that is, we need to do this work. So we are going to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to go into our first freedom practice, and we're going to talk about the nervous system. We will be back in just a second. Welcome back, everyone, to the episode. If you haven't already done so, please make sure that you are liking the episode, that you are subscribed to the channel or subscribed to the podcast. This is really important for what we do. The more we get this information out there, the more people can join our community of resilient ones that are doing this work that we are doing here. So let's dig deeper into these practices. And the first freedom practice I want to give you is a nerve system truth. Freedom begins in your body. If your body is constantly bracing for impact or looking for something traumatic to happen, freedom will often feel like it's a concept that you cannot reach. It's almost like you're in that reactionary state consistently. So this first freedom practice is a nerve system truth. This means that you are telling yourself the truth about what is happening in your body and responding with care instead of punishment. So here's the practice. Step number one, you need to notice what is going on. Notice what is going on. So you may have to ask some questions. What is my body doing right now? Is my jaw clenched? Is my stomach tight? Is my chest feeling shallow in the breathing area? Are my shoulders creeping up like they tend to do when I'm stressed out? This is you asking the questions to better understand what is going on. After you ask, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to name. So I need you to say this quietly. My body is protecting me. By saying that, you are rejecting the concept of you being broken. You're rejecting the concept of you being dramatic. You're rejecting the concept of I'll get over it or I need to get over it. You are saying my body is protecting me because the mode that it is going into is protective in order to shield you as you go through this current situation. All right. Now I want you to take 3 slow breaths in through your nose. So we're going to start with the first one, in and out through the mouth. Number 2, in through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. All right. Now put your hand to your chest, press gently, unclench your jaw and your tongue from the roof of your mouth, and just relax your shoulders as you rest yourself down. Calm your body down. If you can, you have water available, drink some water, drink it slowly. That also helps relieve tension and stress in your body. This is not a small thing. What you just practiced right now is something that will be a go-to in those moments when you need relief in the situations that you're experiencing. So many of us were trained to ignore our bodies. The body will be telling us, the symptoms will be screaming at us, and we will ignore them until we collapse. And then because we're ignoring what our body is telling us, we're being told that, oh, we're being resilient. That's not resilience. What that is extraction. What you are doing is you're pulling consistently from your body the things that it needs to be healthy and whole. So here's a sentence that I want you to keep. I've said this a lot of different ways, but I want you to say, rest is not a reward. Rest is repair. And if you can hear that and immediately think of things like, it must be nice to be able to say that, I understand where you're coming from. Some of us are stretched thin. I don't have small kids. I don't have littles anymore. My daughters are in their 20s. So you may be raising babies and working jobs, and you might be working a job that you do not like or do not care for, but it's what pays the bills. And it's what you have available to you. You may be carrying the family on your back. You may be dealing with grief. You may even feel like you're carrying community needs. But I want you to understand that even with all those responsibilities, rest is not a reward. Rest is a repair. And you are deserving of that. All right. So what I'm not offering you is something that we would consider an aesthetic. Rest is not an aesthetic. I am offering you micro rest as a method. I have learned as I've aged that I may not often get the type of rest I would want consistently, but micro rest is something that I definitely take advantage of because my schedule is so busy and I have so many things going on. So micro rest could be a 2-minute pause that basically interrupts you when you're in survival mode. It could be 2 minutes without you doom scrolling. It's 2 minutes with your eyes closed. It could be 2 minutes of you sitting inside your car before you walk inside your job or inside your house. It could be 2 minutes where you do not perform. That in itself is a freedom practice. So we are going to take another break and we're going to come back and I'm going to give you freedom practice number 2. And that is simply telling the truth out loud, but doing it with wisdom. So let's take a break and we'll be back in just a second. Welcome back, everyone, to the episode. And we are going to go into this next practice, and it's telling the truth out loud with wisdom. So, collective liberation requires the truth. And oftentimes we don't struggle with telling the truth, but what we do struggle with is telling it in wisdom, because that is important. So, it's not just having this truth in your head. You need to speak it out loud, but speak it at the right moments in the right places. That's where the wisdom comes into play. I'm not telling you that you need to disclose your deepest wounds to unsafe people, because I am very big on making sure that you have safe spaces and have the ability to speak your truths in places that are safe to you. When you speak amongst unsafe people or you let things out in spaces that are not safe, that is not liberation. That's self-exposure. And oftentimes people will take advantage of that. This practice is an honest way to speak, but with boundaries. So here's a framework that I want you to put into play: truth, target, and timing. Again, that's truth, target, and timing. The truth. What is the sentence that you keep swallowing down that you need to actually speak out loud? The target. Who is safe enough to hear it? And then the timing. When can you say it without being rushed, shut down, or punished? Here's some examples of liberation truth statements that you can speak. I need help. I cannot keep doing this alone. I'm not okay, and I don't want to pretend. That hurt me. I need to put a boundary in place here. I need you to show up differently. So I want to say this to you plainly. Some of you have been loyal to silence and you've called it peace, and that's not what that is. It is not peace. It's pressure, because you are not releasing the things that you're holding in that is causing anguish inside of you. Pressure brings symptoms. And because that pressure is there, eventually it becomes bitterness. It can become numbness, and it becomes you disappearing inside your own life to the point where you're walking around, but you're really not present. So I want you to choose one truth statement that you will say this week. Doesn't need to be 10, just one. If your voice shakes when you say it, let it shake. If tears come when you say it, let the tears come. Your voice does not have to be perfect for it to be powerful. We're going to take another break, then we're going to come back, and I'm going to give you a third freedom practice for the episode. And this one is going to be talking about how to put together your own system. So we will be back in just a second. Welcome back, everyone. We are going to get into freedom practice number 3. And this is called Build a Tiny Liberation System. So collective liberation is not just the things we post about, it's what you actually build and put together. So you need to build intentionally a tiny liberation system. It could be something small enough to maintain, but it needs to be real enough to matter to you. So don't be haphazard with what you put together. Here's an option. Have a check-in circle. So this could be 2 to 3 people, and this could be people that you know and trust to be safe spaces that you agree to do a weekly check-in. The way you can structure your check-in is you ask questions like, what is heavy this week for you? What is one need that you have? What is one thing that you're proud of? So this is a way for you to ask questions. Here's some additional things as I think about this. What is one boundary that you are protecting this week? I think that last one is important, because sometimes we need to not only celebrate the things that we're proud of and also talk about the things that are heavy, but we need to talk about the boundaries that we need to protect that are intentional. So, like for me, anyone that knows me, my family knows this, my friends know this about me. The one boundary, no matter the situation or where we are, is my workout time is my workout time. That is sacred time for me. It's time for me to replenish my body physically. But I think the thing that's the most important part of this is it allows me to disconnect from all of the responsibilities that I have, even for this hour and 15 minutes. And I get to just be present in that moment with no pressures and no responsibilities. I protect that boundary on vacation, with my family, with my friends. If it's a Monday through a Friday, I don't care where in the world I'm at. I don't care why I'm wherever I'm at. That's a boundary that I protect no matter what. You need to identify what that looks like for you. The other thing I like about this is that you do not need to have 10 friends for this to work. You just need 2 people with integrity that are safe spaces for you to implement this option. Here's option number 2, the help exchange text. So this is you sending a message to one person and basically saying to them, I can offer 1 hour of support this week, but I also need 1 hour of support. Want to trade? All right. I'm real big on reciprocity. So maybe you both have been overextended and didn't have it to give or really to receive it, right? You were operating at bare capacity. Maybe what you want to do now is create a support system that allows the other to get something done. So let's just take the example I gave about the fact that I don't have small children, right? So maybe my friend that does have smaller children or children that are minors needs some time to work on something. So what I'm offering is a childcare swap. I'm going to be there to help watch the kid for you while you do a work project. Or if you decide you just want to go for a ride to decompress, if you need help with something that you've been working on a project, if you want me to drop some food off, if you want me to sit with you after you had a hard appointment or conversation, if you need prayer, if you need silence, what you are creating is a mutual aid system. And you're creating a network of reciprocity and connectedness, which is important. So remember that mutual aid is not charity. It's basically you remembering that you belong to each other and also letting each other know that because we belong to each other, our well-being is connected to each other. And this is as Afrocentric as you can get. It is, again, what we are rooted in and how we are designed to function. Option number 3 is the no shame resource list. So write down 5 resources that you can use when you need support. If you have a therapist, have your therapist's number. If you have a friend that you know will actually hold you, write that person's name down and number. A local support group, if that is something that works for you. A crisis line that's saved in your phone if you ever need it. It could be the church mother who tells you the truth and hugs you tight while she tells you that. It could be a playlist that calms your body down. It could be a specific walking route that brings you back to yourself, that allows you to decompress. Create a resource list. With this resource list, you're creating a freedom practice because you're interrupting the lie in your life that you have to figure it out, not only alone, but in the moment of that crisis. It gives you the opportunity to step away and decompress. Remember, collective liberation doesn't mean that you're going to be everyone's savior. This is not martyrdom here. You are always rescuing. You are not organizing. If you are always rescuing, you are not able to reorganize, right? You are over functioning. So that means that your system is constantly in go mode and doesn't have the ability to slow down. Build systems that do not depend on one person to be a hero, because you can't be the hero and neither can any person else be that in your life. All right. I want us to take another break and I want us to come back. The 4th practice is actually going to be our eye of pause for this episode. And so we are going into a ritualizing your return. And I think that that will be a good way to kind of sum up and start to get to the end of this episode. So we're going to take another break and we'll be back in just a second. Welcome back, everyone. And so this Aya pause is a freedom practice check-in. And so part of this will be you asking particular questions that allows you to check in with the people in your circle. So the first question you're going to ask yourself and those around you as a springboard for a freedom practice is, where have I been practicing survival like it is my identity? Where have I been practicing survival like it is my identity? Question 2, what is one freedom practice that I can commit to for 7 days? So I gave you a bunch of examples. All right. So it could be, I take 3 breaths before I respond in stressful situations or heightened situations. Your practice that you pick might be an honest conversation. It might be a micro rest a day. It might be a request for help, honoring a boundary, or having the community check-in. These are the questions, 2 of the questions you need to ask. Here's question number 3. Who is one person I can practice freedom with and not just talk about it with? Because some people will be there to talk with you about it, but they're not there to walk it out and practice it. Put a hand on your chest. If you can say quietly, I am allowed to be supported, I am allowed to rest, and I am allowed to tell the truth because I belong. That is your Aya pause for this episode. And that is what I want you to embody as we move forward. We're going to take our last, well, not our last break. We're going to take one more break. And I want to give you one more closing practice to kind of close this out. This will be freedom practice number 5. And so this is going to tap into our imagination. And I think that this is really important. So we'll get into this and then we'll get into closing out the show. So we'll be back in just a second. Welcome back. And we are going to talk about freedom practice number 5, which is imagine, then move one step. And the key to this is action is being placed after what you imagine yourself being able to do. So the imagination plus movement is really important. Many of us imagine what freedom looks like. Many of us can describe it. We can preach it. We can repost it on our socials. But putting it into practice is the key part. We need you to imagine, then we need to have you actually move one step. So step number 1, define freedom in plain language. Freedom could mean for you, I do not feel afraid in my own house. I can say no without panic, and I can ask for help without shame. Freedom might be you saying, I can rest without apologizing. That you can also grieve without being rushed through the process. Freedom for you may be saying, I can be soft without being punished for it. I can make mistakes without being abandoned. You identify what freedom is to you. And then your second step will be choose one action that matches what that freedom was that you spoke of, right? So if freedom is rest, then the action needs to be 2 minutes of micro rest. These things need to go together. If freedom is support, then the action connected to that is texting one person that you know provides support for you. If freedom is truth, then it is action of writing the sentence in your notes app that is speaking your truth, or in your journal, or whatever that space may be. If your freedom is boundaries, the action would be declining one thing that you do not have the capacity for in this week. If your freedom is community, action is inviting 2 people into a weekly check-in. If these things feel unfamiliar in the beginning, I want you to remember, unfamiliar does not mean unsafe. It actually means new to you, and you need to get a rhythm and a practice put together. Freedom practices feel awkward at first. When you've been trained to perform pain and call it normal, that is going to feel strange. I speak from experience. When I go on vacation, my ability to shut things down completely and not be on and not have to do work is a process. But we do need to train ourselves in order to be able to do the things that are going to be helpful for our body. We are not here to normalize harm, and we need to stop doing that as a community and as a collective. We are here to practice liberation and to put into practice things that are actually going to help us to be better versions of ourselves. So we're going to take our final break of the episode, and I want us to come back and let's do some closing out to the show. We will be back in just a second. Welcome back, everyone, to the episode. I'm super glad that you took this time this week to spend with me. And I hope that something that was said hit you in a way that inspires you to get out and do something to shift and change the culture that you may have been surviving in. I want you to remember that freedom is not a destination. That is not something that you're trying to arrive at one day just when life gets easier. Freedom is a practice that you have to choose in the middle of life being tough and life being real. Sometimes you have to choose freedom one breath at a time. Sometimes it's just one boundary at a time. It could be one truth at a time. Whatever that looks like, community practice, one at a time. You need to figure out a way to put into action the things that you envision that can happen. If you're listening to me right now and you're thinking, hey, I really want that for my life, but I don't know where to start, I want you to start small. I want you to start honest, and I want you to start today. Please choose one freedom practice for 7 days this week. It could be the nerve system truth, telling the truth out loud with wisdom. It could be building a tiny liberation system. It could be the Aya pause that we had for today, ritualizing your return. Or it could be imagining and then moving one step. But I want you to figure out what that practice is, put it into action, and letting it teach you. I am also recommending that if you don't already have the book, Rooted in Resilience, which is my book that I wrote as, I often say, the love letter to the culture. But this is the way for us to really go on this journey together. It's a journey that's important to me. You can buy this book on my website. It is malikambrown.com, and it's /store/P/rooted in resilience. So you can get the book there. And then the other place that you can get the book is also my Shopify store, which is another place that I've launched. This is where you can get the custom blended teas. the Eye of Calm and the Eye of Bloom, which are pretty popular. Eye of Bloom is probably the most popular one. So if you don't have the tea, you should get it. And you can also get the book there. You can get the different shirts and gear that we have. So if you want to get your Healing Loudly, Living Softly t-shirt, we have that there. We have the Rest is My Resistance t-shirt shirt there. We have the Living Life Rooted monochromatic shirts that I have. This one is the black on black. We have the like burgundy, we have the blue, we have gold, and then we have like a khaki army color. So all of that is there on the Shopify store. So the website is the slash or dash Aya dash shop, and it's myshopify.com. So it's here listed on the website, and I'll make sure that it's also in the show notes for those who are watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So thank you. Thank you for walking with me through season number 1. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone you love, someone you're building with, someone who needs a reminder that they do not have to do this alone. Let them know about the work you've been doing alongside me, that we've been doing together, and let them know that this is a place that they can come to and get the opportunity to breathe and to root and to grow better. Take a second to leave a review about the show, about the episodes. If you want more reflections like this, you can join me on my Substack, where we keep the conversation going. We put practice to the words, and we take a deeper look into the concepts that we talk about every week. So until next time, until we come back together, please breathe deep, stay rooted, and please practice freedom. I'm Dr. Malika, and I'm super excited to have been here with you. And until season number 2, heal loudly, live softly. This is the Aya Way Podcast, a space for truth, tenderness, and becoming whole, one breath at a time. Make sure to like and subscribe.